Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm Tami, the creator of the blog and this YouTube channel called Nutmeg Notebook. And this is where I share with you all about a whole food, plant-based lifestyle. So we're super excited. We have a special guest in the house today, and I know many of you are excited about this as well. First, just a little bit of housekeeping. So you are free to make comments in the comment section. You can ask questions. If you would like to ask Dreena a question or myself, if you could just preface that with 4 question marks. Is it 4 or 3? It is 4. 4 question marks and end with 4 question marks. That just helps your question pop out to my husband, Tom, who is helping us today, and he will be moderating. If you're new to our channel, thank you so much for coming and joining us today. We are so excited. So our special guest today has been cooking and creating plant-based whole food recipes for over 20 years. I love her recipes and her cookbooks. And I was just sharing with her that a lot of our family favorite meals come from Dreena Burton. Our daughter has 3 young children under the age of 5, and we use her recipes in her cookbooks all the time. So you have a question?
Yeah, we do have our moderator. Hi, I'm Tom. We have our, I'm on the right camera. We have our moderators in the chat feed. So if you have questions during the presentation, you can go ahead and ask them. And if our moderators can tackle them, they sure will. Otherwise, we'll be catching up with questions after Dreena is done with her presentation, her food demo. And so we will be talking to you a little bit later in the chat.
Okay.
So with that, I'll send it back to you, Tim.
So I've had the privilege of being a recipe tester for some of Dreena's past projects, and that was so much fun. And my family loved being the taste testers for that as well. And, you know, she was doing whole food plant-based before it was popular to do so. And she's raised 3 beautiful girls on a whole food plant-based diet as well. So Dreena's current project, and why we have her on today, is this beautiful new book, Dreena's Kind Kitchen. There's over 100 recipes in it. I've been busy already making 3 recipes. I just got the cookbook yesterday, and my daughter was here, and we were thumbing through it and deciding what to make first, and so excited about it. And Tom and I will taste some of this in just a little bit. But now let's welcome Dreena Burton.
Hi, Tami and Tom. Thank you so much for having me on. And Tami, you mentioned the recipe testing. I dearly appreciated that help. Recipe testing is no easy situation to be in because, we pass on the recipes and really need honest feedback from people, and you guys deliver it. So I really appreciated that. And it's super to be on here with you and your audience.
Well, thank you so much. And I have to say, I wasn't quite sure why you had us recipe test, because your recipes, when you gave them to us, were like foolproof. But they're like, everything always turned out amazing. And like, do you get them right always the first time you try a recipe, or do you have to make them multiple times?
Yeah, multiple times. There's those rare gems that I tend to like whip together, and I think, this just feels like something I'm going to make today. It's like there's this inspiration that I have, and sometimes it just comes together like magic once, right? But I always test it after to make sure it will then come together again. But there are times where I have tested, and I either reformat it into something else or abandon it because it's like, it's not right now. And sometimes I get an idea later that like revitalizes it, that makes the recipe work. But it's always a bit of a process for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to know that, because sometimes I labor over recipes for months, testing multiple different ways. So what was your inspiration for this newest cookbook?
Yeah, thanks. So, it's been like I can't believe it's been 6 years since Plant Powered Families came out, but it has been. That came out in 2015. And I look at that now, I'm like, oh my gosh, my girls are so grown now. Our daughters are now 20, 16, and 12. And I was developing recipes along the way after Plant Powered Families came out. And I didn't necessarily want to do another kid themed book. Not that it was kid themed, but really focused on younger children in that sense, and things like birthday parties and schools and that kind of thing. Because I felt like I was moving out of that phase myself, and I really wanted to honor where I was and what I could offer to people. And so I just kept developing recipes. I worked on a couple of books with Dr. Barnard, the Reversing Diabetes book and Cheese Trap. And then I just honed in on my own recipes. And I was realizing like, wow, I have a lot of recipes now that I can put into a cookbook. And I wanted to deliver the idea to people that, yes, we can work really, hard on ourselves and develop ourselves and improve upon ourselves, but to do it in a compassionate way, because we are, in a culture of really negativity in many ways, and we can be negative self-talkers, right? It's something I've come very aware of myself over the years. And so the approach with the book is just that. It's to be, it's a kind diet that we're enjoying. We have the benefit of enjoying these beautiful, compassionate foods that are so glorious in nutrients and colors and textures and flavors. And it's a kind diet for many other reasons, as we know, but also to approach it in that way for ourselves and know that we're all on our own journey, and that it may not happen in a month or 6 months, but to just keep with it.
I love that. And, good food is good food. This is what I always tell people, that especially like if they're worried about cooking for people who don't eat plant-based, I'm like, good food is good food. Ours just happens to be plant-based. But don't tell people ahead of time, because then I think they have a preconceived notion. If they think it's plant-based or vegan, that word, they think it's going to taste like cardboard. How could it not? Which is just so wrong. It's so wrong. Well, so can you talk about some things that you did a little bit differently?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I've got a copy here myself. So I'll hold it up so I can show some things. So it's a little bit of a bigger book than Plant Powered Families for those of your audience that do have the book. And the foreword is by John Robbins, which was very special to me because that was one of the first books that I read, was Diet for New America, like over 20 years ago, that inspired me to start making dietary changes. And then the recipes are all whole foods, plant-based. I try to give people as many nut-free and gluten-free options as possible. I'm always offering those in notes and testing out things with like pumpkin seeds. And in fact, a lot of my recipes I've transitioned into using mostly nut-free because I quite enjoy working with those ingredients, and it makes it available for everybody, or for most people. I won't say everybody. And then the recipes are in the book, you'll see like there's sort of color coding on the pages. So that sets off the different recipes and categories, mains, desserts and sauces, dressings, breakfast, that kind of thing. And one other item that I really wanted to bring into my recipes as much as possible was to show people how to take that recipe that you've made, because you and I, we love batch cooking. So if you make a double batch of soup or a double batch of a dressing or a sauce, how to reinvent it another time. So it doesn't have to be exactly like having that soup that night, but rather how you can maybe repurpose it in a different way. So within the individual recipe, I offer these ideas in many of the recipes called recipe renewal. So for instance, you might have a soup one night and I'll give you a suggestion on how to transform it into a pasta sauce the next night, or a casserole that can be used as a potato stuffing or something like that, right? Just to how to help enliven that creativity that we all have, and not feel like our meals have to be exactly any way any given night, right? It's an open book. We can really have fun with our meals and not have to feel, that it's a challenge or we have to have it any particular way.
Yeah, and I love that because like you, I make double batches of things, but to be able to serve it, like especially like if you're a busy mom and you make something on Monday, maybe you don't have time on Wednesday to make something new again. And so then if you serve it up in a little different way, then the family is more receptive to that as well. I also like the section that you did on substitutions. What can I use instead? And I have to tell you, our grandson is allergic to cashews. So I really appreciate that you're showing how to use pumpkin seeds and those kinds of things, because, we've been trying to figure out how to remake some recipes without the cashews. One thing that I get asked all the time, and I'm curious what your answer is. Like people will say either they're allergic to bananas or they don't like bananas, and what they can use in place of bananas in recipes.
Yeah, that's a common one. And sometimes there's an allergy. I think it's a latex allergy that can come up with bananas and avocados and certain foods. So in a recipe, if it's, for instance, a smoothie, which we see bananas in a lot, I always offer up to use frozen mango or frozen pineapple. When it's in baking, I love sweet potato, and you'll see it in my recipes so much. Orange and yellow sweet potato, I think it's a brilliant ingredient. We're using it today. I use it in muffins in the book. I use it in cakes. I've used it in all kinds of things. I use it for everything, dressings. And, applesauce is always there, and pumpkin puree, but sometimes we can work with, some different ingredients. Like pineapple can be a really beautiful substitution in certain muffins or cakes or something like that. So it doesn't have to be banana for sure. And yeah, I get that one quite a bit too.
So if you are substituting sweet potato, do you suggest that it's oven roasted so that it's more caramelized and the natural sugars come out more?
You know me. Yes, you know me well. Yes, I do. Yeah, that's what I'm using today. Oven, except for when it's in the hot months and you don't want to turn on the oven, it's really the best way to get the best flavor from sweet potatoes, because I steam them in the Instant Pot too, and they're great. But when you oven roast them, it's really something quite magical, because all the flavors become much more concentrated. It's like it becomes candy-like, and they're sweeter and more intense in flavor. They're better to eat on their own, and they have more flavor for recipes, and they're also less watery than if you steam them, or if you of course boil them, they're going to be a little watery too.
So do you have an air fryer, Dreena?
I do, but I rarely use it because I find the batch size is so small. It is tedious for me to feed this family. I have to do so many batches in it.
Sure,
Yeah.
of course, because the Japanese sweet potatoes or the Hana yams, if you batch bake them and then you take one and cut it in half and put it in the air fryer, it becomes like absolutely incredible. You would go crazy for that because it gets crispy on the outside and it's so sweet and tender and soft on the inside. It's really good, really, really good. Yeah. So today,
because I love sweet potatoes.
Yeah, I love sweet potatoes, and our grandkids, if we air fry them, they absolutely love them. They just can't get enough of them.
Yeah, like candy, right?
Yeah, they're like candy.
Yeah.
So tell us about the salad dressing you're going to make today.
So I have quite a few salad dressings in this book, and some are standalone salad dressings, and then others are within the actual recipe themselves. Like sometimes it's a bean-based salad and I have the salad dressing within the actual recipe. So there's quite a few here. And I feel like oil-free dressings can be a real, sticky thing for people. They're not sure how to get the flavor, the texture, and how to make it be, a really interesting dressing when they've loved those ones that they've used for years. So this one, I got really into the idea of using fresh turmeric for a while, in the winter especially, right? I use a lot of fresh ginger and fresh turmeric. So this one is called Ninja dressing, and that gorgeous golden color here. And I called it Ninja because it's got like a real anti-inflammatory punch with fresh turmeric and black pepper and some really warming spices. So this is a really nice dressing to use, especially through the fall and winter when you want those like warming spices and flavors. And I'm going to get started and show you what we do here, because otherwise I will just talk all day.
And I like that though. I love the talking.
Just get on with it already, will you? So, all right. So I'm going to lower my camera.
Okay.
And show. So first I'm going to just show what fresh turmeric looks like, because many of us know what fresh ginger looks like, right? So this is fresh ginger. And I use this. So, I find, as you get older, of course, you sometimes feel more inflammation in your body. And for me, using fresh ginger and turmeric, I put it in green smoothies in the morning, and it really helps me. And fresh ginger looks like this, big bulbous looking, guys in the supermarket. And then fresh turmeric here's what fresh turmeric looks like. So I'm just going to show it side by side so you can kind of see the size comparison. And it's a gorgeous, gorgeous orange color underneath. You don't have to use fresh turmeric in this, but I love it. It's so interesting in flavor and the color is absolutely gorgeous. I'm just going to cut a little piece here to show you. And
How do you store it? How do you store your fresh?
Depends on the time of year. If it's real warm, I'll put it in the fridge. But otherwise, like in the winter, I'll just leave it on the countertop with the ginger. And so there's the color and the skin.
So pretty.
It's so gorgeous. And the skin is a little thinner than ginger. You know how ginger can have, the skin can be a little tough. I find with turmeric, it's thinner. So I don't actually peel it. You could with a knife, just like go down and kind of skin off that little bit of outer flesh, but I don't bother. I just use this straight as it is. And so we're using, how much do we use here? I have to remind myself, it's 1.5 teaspoons, which is a 1/2 tablespoon of fresh turmeric. So I just cut, I don't even have my cutting board out here, but hey, that's real life. So I just cut a couple of pieces and just kind of measure it into my 1/2 tablespoon here. And I just want a little bit more. So that's about a 1/2 tablespoon there. And that's going to go into your blender. Now I use a blender that has a small jar. If you have a standard blender, you may want to double the recipe to get everything moving. This one has a small jar, so it really incorporates the ingredients very well. So that's our turmeric that's going in there. We're also adding some ginger, and I've moved my ginger, so now I've got to get it back. And we're using, I have to remind myself, yes. Oh, it was 1 teaspoon of turmeric, sorry. So I'm just going to take a little bit out just so it's not too intense in flavor because it is strong. It was 1.5 teaspoons of ginger. Now ginger, I do remove the peel. I just kind of come around and remove it. I keep fresh ginger on hand all the time. It's one of those ingredients that I feel like dried ginger doesn't always do it justice. Like it's fine in cookies, like a gingerbread cookie or something. But for using it in curries and stews and anything where you really want to have that vibrant flavor, I find fresh ginger is just much, much better. And it's cheap. It's really inexpensive. And so that's about 1.5 teaspoons. I will mention as well, when you're using turmeric, it really stains your hands. So be aware of that. And I tend to wear black.
Yes.
or a good apron when I'm working with it. So that's our punch of antioxidants and anti-inflammatory foods. And we're going to add some pepper to that. 1, because it generally tastes good in dressings. And 2, because we have heard that it helps with the absorption of turmeric. So that's our components there. And now we're adding cooked sweet potato. So this is 2/3 of a cup. So this is what's giving us the body in the dressing, right? So instead of using oil, this is going to give us a lot of thickness, but also natural sweetness and flavor and gorgeous color. And this has been roasted. You can see the flesh here is, right, a little darker. So that's roasted and I took the peel off it. That's 2/3 of a cup there. And we have lime juice, 3 tablespoons of lime. And we have 1 tablespoon of tahini. So when you look for tahini, this is one of those ingredients that if you've never had tahini before and you eat it and you think it's going to taste like almond butter or peanut butter, you're greatly disappointed, right?
Yes.
It's very bitter in comparison, but you grow to love the flavor and it works really well in particular recipes. I love a very mellow tahini, and you have to search around the brands in your area. You can see this one is really light in color. And if you can get authentic tahini brands, you can find them on Amazon, and different stores have them. They tend to be what I call like more buttery in flavor. They have a mild flavor, really delicious, and much different than a cheaper brand that tastes quite bitter. But I remember the first time I tasted tahini and I thought, so this is what this lifestyle is going to be about? This is not good. And so we have that in there. And now we're adding some seasonings. So we have a 1/2 teaspoon of ground cumin. and a little bit of cinnamon. It's about 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. And we have allspice, and I think I have forgotten to take it out here. Yes, a little bit of allspice, like a pinch. So I find cinnamon and allspice work really nice with cumin in small amounts. And cumin is that spice that we taste in Mexican cuisine a lot. And then some salt. Now, I know a lot of your viewers probably don't use salt, so you can omit it or add it, you know, to your desired amount or what you're able to use. I think some people may even use like dehydrated celery. So it's always that option where you can leave it out and adjust the taste after. And then we have a little bit of sweetener. I'm using date syrup. You can use maple syrup. You can use coconut nectar. And I think that is everything except for the water. So I'm actually going to get this blended, start blending. Yes. And we need about a 1/2 cup of water or a little bit more. So I usually start with less than 1/2 cup just to help the blender get going without it having too much liquid. So I'm going to start pureeing. This is going to get noisy.
Okay.
He wants to know what brand of was used.
Okay.
We did cash out.
Okay.
A little more water now.
So we should talk about it right now, so. Zoom cancels out the noise.
Yeah, which is nice.
And that's about it. So now it's actually quite thick. I need to add a bit more water, but I just want to show it to you now. It smells really good.
It looks amazing. I wanted to make it today, but I didn't have an orange sweet potato.
And you know what, Tammy? I had yellow sweet potato cooked in my fridge yesterday, and
Yeah.
I cooked an orange one today. And then I thought I didn't need to. I really could use a yellow. So I'm going to tell everyone you really can use a yellow in this recipe. It's just going to have a slightly different color, and that's okay.
Okay.
Sorry about that. There. And then I tend to use jars leftover, like tahini jars and things for my dressing, and just pour that in. And it's really a sauce as much as a dressing. You can use this on quinoa, you know, use it in bean salads, over steamed veggies, over kale, like all kinds of things. And always test the taste yourself. Like once you've made it, say, okay, now taste it. Do I maybe want more cumin? Do I want another hit of lime juice? Do I need a little more sweetener? You know, Dreena doesn't have it spicy enough. Maybe I want a hit of chili pepper in there, but that's when you can play around with the seasonings yourself. I always advise make it and then boost up the seasonings as you want.
Right. Oh, it's so beautiful. Edith wants to know if you could hold the jar up of the tahini so they can see what brand it is.
This one is New World.
New World organic, and it's raw. I wondered too if it was raw or toasted. So raw, because that has a much more mild flavor to it.
Yeah, really mild. I'm going to show you another brand that I have that I really like. And
Okay.
I'm not sure if this one is in the States, because I'm in Canada. I'm not sure. This is also a nice brand that I really recently discovered.
Oh,
and
I've never seen that one.
It's squeezable. It's so cool. You can squeeze
Nice.
it. So it's really nice to just drizzle like on quinoa and kale and that kind of thing. And they have this one with, and I have no affiliation with the brand. They have this one with some chili in it as well. So people who like spice.
Oh, a little heat.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll have to see if we can find those in the States. And then did you use 1 tablespoon of the date syrup?
Yes.
On the-
And again, that's, you know, if you want no sweetener, make it without and just see, and then add after if you want to add in a little bit to taste, right?
Yeah. Do you make your own date syrup or do you buy it?
No, I don't make my own just because we
Time.
eat so much.
Yes.
Right? There's a lot to prep. There's a lot of food to prep. So I buy it. But I have made date paste and that kind of thing before. I just try to minimize how much I'm prepping on the outskirts of food and just focus on the main things.
Oh, absolutely. Because we could spend our entire life in the kitchen if we made everything from scratch. I buy a lot of stuff too, because, even though I could make my own broth, I don't make my own broth. I buy my broth. I mean, there's certain things I'm just not going to spend that time doing. So that looks amazing. I like that you give a lot of different ways to use those too. I mean, people sometimes think a salad dressing can only go on a salad. And there's so many things that we can do. And also that you can adjust the recipes to suit your own taste preferences, because we all like things maybe slightly different. And I always tell people recipes are just an idea.
Absolutely. And personally, I don't love a lot of heat. I love spicy flavor, but I don't love heat in spice. It's just something I've not really gotten used to, eating a lot of, hot spice. I like flavor spice. So some people love that. And that's where I always say, make it and then add in the hot sauce or the chili flakes or whatever you want to do there.
Do you ever like double or triple the salad dressing recipes, and can they be frozen? Do you know?
Yes, many of them can. That's a great question. I often will double them because I use them up quickly. People often ask, how long do they last? So I'd say generally they'll last about a week, 6 to 7 days. If you're opening it every day, then more air gets into it and it will spoil quicker than if you say, don't open it for 4 days and then you open it. You know what I mean? Like having that extra air in it just will spoil it quicker than not opening it as often. But we use it so frequently that I tend to use it within a week, but I do have people that freeze them. So yeah, if you're on your own and you want to make a batch, then you could freeze half of it and thaw it out later.
Okay, that's great. Because I learned from you that you can freeze hummus. That was a game changer.
Right.
I think you did. Yeah, I think you did a video or something when you were showing that you were making hummus for the family and you were making a huge batch of it. And then you were like, and you guys know you can freeze it. And I was like, what?
Yeah. And store-bought hummus and homemade hummus, it's night and day, right? The flavor is not nearly as good with store-bought, and they taste, there's usually oil in them and they're saltier than you want them to be. Sometimes they're very, very garlicky and you may not want that. When you make it yourself, it's exactly how you want it. And yeah, you can make the huge batch. Mine is a 16-cup processor. So I basically make like a 4 batch of, quadruple a batch of hummus, have it full, and then batch it in containers and pop it in the freezer so that I can take some out, a few weeks later. And yeah, it's one of the best things to freeze.
Yeah, I love that. So do we have more questions, Tom?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to go to questions.
Couple.
Okay. Put
Okay.
you on screen.
So you guys are caught up with the ninja dressing then?
Yeah, it looks amazing. I'm going to make it. I might get it made yet tonight.
Uh-oh.
I'm just dying to try it. It looks so delicious.
Okay.
Already made so much food.
I know.
So these are not related. These are not related to the dressing. Stephanie is asking what else, and I don't know if you mentioned at the beginning, I think when you were talking about turmeric is when this question came in. Stephanie's asking, what else does Dreena put in her morning smoothies? What goes into a typical morning smoothie?
That's a great question. I have that in my book. I actually have my morning smoothie because I used to create recipes for smoothies, like green smoothies for kids. And then the one that I make is not as kid friendly. I'm just going to swipe to it really quickly here. Here it is here. Dreena's morning green smoothie. Because I make them a little more green than the average green smoothie. And I put ginger in it every day. And the secret, what I like to tell people is the big secret to green smoothie is fresh lemon or lime. And to have like an average size lemon, cut it in half and take off the outer peel, like the bitter peel, and then put that whole piece of lemon in the smoothie, it will change the flavor for you so much. It's kind of like if you have a green smoothie without it, it's very flat. And then if you add that punch of lemon or lime juice, it just bumps up this flavor, and it's really vibrant and like fresh. So I usually put spinach or kale, but typically spinach, sometimes romaine, like in the summer when romaine's really abundant and inexpensive, I'll use that. Fresh parsley. I buy like 3 bunches of parsley a week, and it's for my smoothies. So I use quite a bit of parsley, fresh ginger with the black pepper and a little bit of turmeric. And sometimes I use just powdered turmeric, and the fresh lemon, and some flax meal or hemp seeds, and either frozen pineapple or frozen mango. That's what I like. And I don't use a lot of fruit. I keep it more, it's almost more like a juice cross smoothie.
It sounds amazing. I've never tried it with like half of a lemon or lime. That sounds interesting. I'm going to have to do that and see what that's like. That sounds wonderful. And you have that every day?
Yes. I don't tire of it. I don't know. It's one of those things, unless we're out and about or traveling where I can't really make a smoothie in the morning to do that. I will have it every morning. My husband has it too. I do keep mine a little more green. I tend to put a bit more fruit in his. But I love it. And it's just routine for me, I guess. I'm very much a routine person. So for me, it's kind of like part of my day, you know?
Yeah. And well, it makes it easier too, less decisions to have to make. So, and easier to grocery shop because you know what you need for those smoothies every day. And that's just making life a little bit simpler. I think Tom has another question.
Yeah, this is also not dressing related. This is from screen name My Cutie Pie. That's a fun YouTube screen name. And this happens to us in our kitchen too. Over your right shoulder in the back there is what I perceive to be a dish drainer, and it looks like you're draining fruit on it. And Tami does the same thing.
Yes. Hello, cutie pie. When I grocery shop for produce, and today I didn't do a big shop, but I needed to get some bananas and some grapes and a few other things. Anything that can be washed right away, I wash all my produce. I don't know what's touching it. And, we've had this huge, year and a half of talking about, what we're in. And even before then, I always wash produce because I did this food safety course years ago and learned that, so much of what we think is like a food or gastrointestinal issue is really like food contamination that we've gotten on our food. So I wash bananas, I wash avocados, melons, because anything that's on it, if you're cutting into it, it's going into your food. So it's really simple though. It sounds labor intensive, but if you bring everything home, get it to your sink, get it in the water, and then rinse it, boom, into the dish drainer. So that's my dish drainer usually has food in it. My mom used to put produce in her dishwasher and to ripen it. So she had 6 girls and never used her dishwasher. She found it was more work, but you could always open it up and find pears and bananas in there and anything she wanted to ripen. So
that is hysterical. I love that. I have heard of people using their dishwasher to put their fruit and vegetables in after they wash it so that it'll drain. But I do that too. When I get home and I have the fresh herbs, I like to go ahead and wash those, lay them out on towels, let those dry, put the produce and get it clean, put it in my dish drainer and just let it drip dry. And you talk about that too in the book. And so lots of hints and tips on, how to save time in the kitchen. So you're a busy mom. You've got 3 girls that are busy doing things. What is your strategy? Do you plan out a menu for the week, or how do you manage it?
Yeah. Thanks for mentioning that, because that was another thing I added in the book, was kind of like from grocery shopping to meal prepping, like to actually starting a recipe, kind of what my system is. because people need those hacks, I think, right? Like if you have to wash a red pepper every time you're using it, or reach for a carrot and wash it every time you're prepping something, it takes more time than prepping it, washing it all at once, and then getting it to the cutting board. I don't meal plan for the week, and it's not my thing. I think because I tend to cook more intuitively with what's left over and what I have on hand, I do batch cook things as much as I can. When I cook quinoa, I cook a big batch of it. When I cook sweet potatoes, it's a lot. Potatoes, I tend to cook those things in batches the most. Potatoes, sweet potatoes, rice, quinoa, and if I'm cooking lentils or beans, and have those things at the ready. And then I batch wash produce to have at the ready. I also, if I'm soaking nuts, will do a lot of those at a time, like cashews, because again, they can be frozen, and then you can take out small portions to use in a dressing or whatever you want to use it for. But I generally have ideas of what I want to make day to day. I include legumes in at least one meal a day, right? So usually if I'm cooking, any given day, I'll say, okay, what am I making for lunch? Okay, if I'm not including legumes in lunch, I'll have it for supper. And then usually I have enough leftovers or batch foods in the fridge that I can pull components together, rather than always, like, I love recipes, right? I love to develop them, but a lot of day-to-day food prep is bringing and pulling items together. And I want to convey that to people too, that it doesn't always have to be a recipe. You can pull things together, maybe make one recipe being a sauce, and then make big Buddha bowls based on what you batch cook and use that sauce to pull it all together.
Yeah, I do the same thing that you do. And I think people do get hung up on thinking that they have to have recipes. And you've done some like spontaneous videos where you're like, okay, you guys, I just pulled together dinner. I'm just going to give you a quick overview of what we're having tonight. And I
Right.
love that because it shows people this is what you do with that batch prep food that's in the fridge. You can put it all out there and let everybody mix their own mix and put
Mhm.
ninja dressing over it.
Yeah,
And
exactly. Yeah.
and you just created a meal. I think Tom's got another question.
Yeah, from Lisa, who has a question here in the chat feed. Is this book only an ebook right now, or is there a version available for purchase? Thank you. So if you talk about the advance order and that part of the process, I do have the links for the book and the links for some of the web presences that Dreena has in the show notes. So there is information in the show notes about the book, but go ahead and talk about what's being released when, and the little
Bonuses.
the little ebook bonus, the thing you gave us the coupon code for. Explain that maybe.
Will do. Yes, this is a printed book, and it releases August 24th. So this month, the 24th. Tami has a preview copy, but it's a printed book, and it will be in, all bookstores, online. And if you go to my site now and pre-order, there are bonuses, right? So you publishers want to help get orders up before the book is out. So we offer bonuses to help initiate those early sales. So if you pre-order a book, you get a free ebook. So it's an extra 12 recipes that I've created that, are in line with the rest of the recipes in the book, but it's just bonus recipes that are in ebook format for you. And that will be sent to you within 2 days if you pre-order the book. You just enter that your receipt information or a screenshot on the site. You can get all the details are on my site rather than me jabber on. It's dreenaburton.com, and there's a pre-order page. And we also have giveaways that you can enter to win a blend tech, enter to win an Instant Pot, and a couple of other prizes. So that's there on my site. And then the ebook that Tom mentioned is I've also written plant-powered dressings, which is an oil-free dressings ebook, which Tami knows well. And I said, I'd like to offer your audience a discount on that. So if you use the code that Tami has there in the show notes, you can link through and get the ebook for 40% off, which is just under like $4. It's less than $4 for, it's 11 recipes, and they're all dressings.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Okay, new question. This is from Cat Dancer's Kaleidoscope of Books and Stuff. That's a big screen name. Do you use a fruit and veggie wash or white vinegar to wash produce, or just plain water?
Excellent question. I get that one all the time. I tend to use just a drop of natural dish soap. I don't buy anything special. The only thing I use a little bit of vinegar for, sometimes for grapes, because I find there's sometimes a lot of like dust and musty on grapes. And so I'll just add a drop of white vinegar in with the wash and water for that. But you don't need much soap at all, like a drop of dish soap, and then give it a good rinse.
And are there things that you don't pre-wash?
Yes, berries. I will wash berries when we're going to eat them, right? So if I buy a little pack of strawberries and I buy 3 packs, then I'll wash one, keep the other 2 in the fridge, because they spoil as soon as you wash them. They absorb that water and they spoil really quickly. So berries, blueberries, strawberries, all of the berries, and also mushrooms. Never wash mushrooms. You just wipe them clean with a damp towel. And anything like that's really delicate, fresh, like romaine lettuce and lettuces, wash them when you're ready to use them, rather than have them all, soaking and in the fridge. But most things, I'd say I wash most things, because most items are pretty hardy. It's really just the delicate things like berries.
Yeah. Do any of your girls like to cook?
They do, actually. My middle girl right now is always doing her own thing. Like lunchtime, she likes to make her own thing. I find my kids are eating at different hours, and I think that's like a teenage thing. They're out with their friends, they're working. So I have one that wants to eat at 2 and another at she comes home from work at 7. So she doesn't want to eat dinner until 8. So they tend to put together their own things. And it's interesting. I really want to say to people with young kids, don't stress too much about their dislikes and their, picky foods, for instance, when they're young, because if you keep feeding the good food, just keep presenting it, offering it, they will find their own food loves along the way. My girls all did not like greens very much until they hit about 14. And something happened where they started to enjoy them. And so now, my middle girl will cook up something. She always puts spinach in the pan at lunch and stir fries sweet potato and spinach and different things. So just stick with it. If you feel like your kids are kind of having food issues, just keep presenting it. Don't stress about it. And they, in time, will embrace more of those foods.
Yeah, it is easier said than done. It's hard not to stress about it when you're in the middle of that. And so for school, are you packing lunches for them, or are they packing them, or how's that go?
Just the one now, which is nice. Yay. Because honestly, for years, and my husband, he's been working from home for the last 1.5 years as well. So I used to pack his lunch and the 3 girls, and I'd open my fridge and it was just containers everywhere for lunches. And of course, with the young girls, when they were in elementary, there was nut-free. It was always nut-free, always nut allergies, and not just peanuts, but nuts. So I had to be very conscious of that when they were in elementary, never to have anything with almonds or cashews. It was, hard not to be able to send cashew cheese, for instance, in a sandwich. So now just the youngest, who's 12, and the girls, they do their own thing, pack their own lunch. Yay, it's lovely, I have to say.
Yeah, that's such freedom for you. Okay,
Yeah.
You've got another question?
Yeah, there's a question actually about nuts from Cat Dancer. Do you dehydrate nuts after you soak them if you are saving them for later?
I never dehydrate. I don't have a dehydrator, so I've never done that. If I soak nuts, or when I soak nuts and do them in batches, I just strain them, try to remove as much water as possible, and then put them in containers for the fridge and freezer. Fridge, you're not going to want them in there for more than about 4 days, 3 or 4 days, and then they start to go funky. Freezer, you can get months and months with soaked nuts. And then it's great because you can pull them out, take out a small amount, say like a half cup to make a dressing or anything else. It's really, really a good idea to batch soak them.
It's a huge time saver.
Yeah.
You know, because you go to make something, you go, oh, I have to soak the nuts first.
Right? Yeah.
Another question.
Yeah, a couple of questions. Kathleen is asking, will the turmeric salad dressing be in the show notes because I want to make it tomorrow? I believe this was actually a little bit of a teaser to give you a glimpse of what's inside the book.
Yeah.
So I think you could probably do the replay and follow the recipe along from the verbal description, but I was not actually planning on, because it's not.
Well, it's up to Dreena. See what Dreena says.
That's not one of the recipes from there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
so no, I wasn't planning on putting that in the show notes. It was intended as a teaser recipe.
a little bit, but I don't, only because I don't have the what we call the script for it from my publisher. So, and because it's the weekend, I mentioned to Tami, I'll check in with them this week. And if I can get it, I'm sure I can, then I'll send it to Tami and you guys can add it in. But
And then we can add it.
Yeah, and I will mention that on my site, there is another dressing that I think you'd really like that's similar in the sense that it uses like similar flavors with cumin, but it uses chickpeas. So it's a maple chipotle chickpea dressing. And that one is in the ebook, but I also posted it on my site. So I think if this one kind of catches your attention, you'd really like that one as well. And you can check that out on my site. Just search chipotle on my site and it'll come up. It's a maple chipotle chickpea dressing. And that was really popular. It's amazing on lots of things.
Okay, great. Thank you. Another question from Apple369, and this is a little bit of interpretation. What are some of Dreena's favorite movement practices? Now that can be, you know, like Tami goes for her 4-mile walk every morning, or there's also movements around the kitchen. When we're batch cooking in here, over the years, a kind of a dance has developed. Like if she's at the stove, I'll pivot one way to get to the kitchen counter if I'm like doing rice or potatoes, and if one of them needs to get into the microwave above, you know, it'll be coming across, you know. So we have this code, both in body movement and verbal, that's this choreography of movement in the kitchen. So I'm not sure what Apple 369 means for sure. Do you have a daily workout routine?
I do. I have exercised at home myself for years and years. To me, it's part of my day, like brushing my teeth. I don't slug it out for an hour. That is not what I find effective for me or for my body at this age either. I'm 50 and I feel like it's too much. As we age, it can be a lot of extra stress on our body, you know, like going to the gym and slugging it out for an hour. I used to do that. I do about 20 minutes a day, 20 to 30 minutes. I have a rebounder, which some of my viewers have seen, and I use that. I do other forms of, you know, cardio or just some muscle strength, like just basic strength training at home. I've done it forever at home, and I use YouTube videos, but I also teach yoga and do yoga at home. I teach yin yoga, which is a different style of yoga that, from what a lot of people know, it's holding poses for a longer time to help heal in the body. So you'd hold a pose for like 3 minutes. So I teach that once a week. But I'm also, like you say, Tom, I'm kind of like moving around in the kitchen and around the house and with the kids and going for walks with my youngest, or a quick bike ride in the afternoon. But movement is really important no matter what age we are. And I think when you make exercise part of your life, at first you don't like it, but then you don't like to not have it. You want it, right? You love it in your life.
And you don't feel well if you don't get to do it. I think that's so true. Yeah, and you have some cute videos of you on the rebounder, and there was one that was so fun where your husband came in and he didn't realize you were videotaping it.
Yeah, I was doing my move and he was trying to mimic my move, and then I said, you know, the video's on.
That was great. I loved it because it was so candid. Well, I want to. Do you have another question?
We have a couple more questions.
Okay, a couple more questions, and then I'm dying to
do a couple of
taste test.
questions, and then we're gonna sample some of Dreena's work here. Okay, there was a question, and it scrolled off. Oh, that's the wrong mouse. I'm sorry, I have two computers here and two mice. I'm always grabbing the wrong mouse. If you order, this is from Cheryl, if you pre-order the book on Amazon, is the freebie still available?
Yes, doesn't
Yes.
matter where you order it, anywhere you can order
It's
it.
just you send in like if the links I put in on our site are, getting to Amazon through the Nutmeg Notebook link to go straight to Dreena's book, and then once you get an invoice, then you go back and submit that on Dreena's website to get the freebie. So
That's
it's all
right.
seamless. It doesn't matter what door you walk through, you're going to wind up at the same place.
Yeah.
Is that a good way to say it?
That's exactly.
And so all of those links are down in the show notes.
Yeah,
And then I have a message or a question from Edith about nuts again. When you soak nuts, freeze them, and then pull out for use, how do you measure them if the recipe calls for 1/2 cup of nuts? So in other words, but before you soak them, 1/2 cup, or after you soak them, 1/2 cup, because they're bigger.
Oh, right. Yeah. So some recipes might call for 1/2 cup of nuts and then soak them. I think that's what they mean. And yeah, so if your recipe is calling for 1/2 cup of soaked nuts, then you already have them soaked, right? But if your recipe calls for 1/2 cup of cashews and then soak, then yeah, you've got to make the adjustment.
It's in the fine print. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say generally like a cup of nuts. If you soak a cup of cashews, you're going to get about 1.33 cups of cashews. It's going to be about that much swelling of the cashews. So you kind of have to eyeball that or make that adjustment. I'm always specific in my recipes to say 1/2 cup of soaked nuts, or, that kind of thing. So people will know for sure. But you'd have to, if it's another recipe, you'd have to kind of make that tweak.
Okay, great. Cheryl, who was asking about the ordering in the freebie, just came back in the chat and said that she got the book ordered. So you cannot go wrong with any of Dreena's cookbooks.
You cannot.
And we practically live out of the last two. Between Tami's recipes and Chef AJ's recipes and Dreena's recipes, I bet that's a pretty big percentage of our total diet.
Oh yeah,
just
absolutely.
out of those three books or three chefs. So anyway,
absolutely.
Let's we're gonna hold questions now for a second, and Tami wants to sample. She works.
I've tasted everything, but I know that you haven't he hasn't been able to taste anything. I did get to taste everything. So if you want to hold this up so people can see this is so inventive.
Okay, I'm going to go to the speaker view here so we can get a bigger shot of this, Tami.
So this is the Avo Mame hummus. And so I love this because it's using a variety of different ingredients to make hummus. And in the book, Dreena talks about how expensive avocados are, especially when you're feeding a family. So this is made with shelled edamame and green peas and ripe avocado, and then the seasonings. And it's delicious. And it's a wonderful way to spread that avocado and make it go further.
Are we putting it on these little biscuits?
Here, I gave you, I made you some.
You made my chips.
I made him some oil-free chips.
Wow.
In the air fryer.
So which camera? We're slathering a dollop. Okay, we're slathering.
I like that, honey. That's good.
You can call me Tom, the dollop slatherer. Okay, all right.
You've got your new handle for you.
I got some competition with handles on this chat feed. Some of these names are great.
Isn't that delicious? It's so amazing. And I think,
this is a movie snack. You could just eat all of this through a movie.
Well, and our grandkids love avocado. I was telling Dreena before we started, they can easily eat a whole one.
Where's this friend on the calorie density chart?
Well, you can have avocado.
Yeah.
And it's mixed with, there's green peas in it too.
Just stretched it.
And so it stretches it as well. And it's absolutely delicious. And I think the kids are going to love this.
Oh, it's got a zing to it.
Isn't it nice?
Well,
it's got lime juice, all kinds of fun things, a little bit of cilantro. But if you don't like cilantro, you wouldn't have to put it in there. But super creamy. And I like that. And I can't remember if it was this recipe or another one in here, but you talked about putting it in a taller vessel with a smaller mouth so that less air would get to it, because avocado will change color, it'll oxidize a little bit. And so if you have less surface area exposed, then you'll have less oxidation.
Put it in a squeeze tube and you could squeeze it onto each bite.
Yeah, and so that's on page 100. Super easy to make. It only took a few minutes to throw everything in the blender and make that. And I think our grandkids are going to love it. Like we like to take like the lavash and, you know, make a spread on there and then put some little chopped veggies on there and roll it up for them. And this will be perfect for that. And they won't even know that they're getting green peas. They will just think it's avocado. So that's super delicious. And then
while you're finding your next one, let's jump to another question here. Randy's asking, when you bring home a basil plant or mint, et cetera, would you just wash it as you use it? I think she's talking about the planted, like Tami buys the ones in a pot, and we put them under our grow light for our arrow garden, and you've had that one for several weeks now, haven't you?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you wash them as you use them, or do you wash the whole plant when you first get it home?
You know, something like basil, I would just pick the leaves and then just give them a quick rinse.
I think so. That's what we do.
I won't really give them a full wash. When I buy parsley, I'll just give the full bunch of a wash because parsley is very hardy. It's not like basil. Basil is temperamental, right? You've got to treat it like a little toddler or something. It's a baby. But parsley is pretty hardy, so you can wash the whole thing and pop it in the fridge and it lasts like the full week, really. I just wanted to mention, because you were talking about the avocado, Tami, I also have what I call guacamole. I'm really goofy with the recipe names, but guacamole in the book. And this one is another good one for stretching avocado because I use white beans and also yellow sweet potato in it. And it really spreads out that avocado and it adds just a little bit of sweetness that kids really like it too.
Oh, I like that. And that would reduce the calorie density for people who are trying to maybe lose weight or something. Okay, so this is fun. I was sharing with Dreena what I made today before we went live, and the soup that I chose out of her new cookbook, she also made today. She made it for dinner. So this is the curried carrot and lentil soup. This is what the picture looks like. And there is the soup.
I better not tip that too much.
Don't tip it too much.
Okay.
This was so easy to make, you
Am I
guys.
tasting this now?
Yeah, taste that.
Tami got me a fresh spoon for each sampling here. She thinks of everything.
You kind of have the best job there. You get to try all the food.
He does.
Yeah, this is always my job. I signed up for it.
Yeah, I had a little dish of this at lunchtime. It was so good.
Oh, it's so light.
Isn't
Lovely.
Isn't it nice?
Yeah. Oh, but it's got
curry.
It's got curry going on.
I had hot curry, and so that's what I used.
Oh, this will warm this. I know it's summer right now, but this would be a good wintertime soup. This would warm up the whole body.
And the thing about it is, you guys, I just want you to see, I mean, it turned out just as beautiful as the picture in the book. And I doubled the recipe, and I think I
This
did.
one's your tonsils.
Yeah, I put it in our super cubes to freeze. And so I have like 6 servings to put in the freezer. And then I kept some out that we can enjoy during the week. And then Dreena also has suggestions in here on how to change it up and serve it in different ways. So you can, add it to pasta and use it as a pasta sauce. Like, I would not have thought to do that. It's so creative. And so your family likes this too. You made it for dinner tonight.
Yeah, and I made it because we've had this stretch of hot weather here in the Vancouver area for like 6 weeks. And then this weekend we got rain. And I'm like a baby as soon as it gets cold, and I'm like, oh, I need my soups again. Because I put soups in the category of main courses in this book, because I feel like they are, and sometimes people relegate them to like appetizers or something. No, soups are main hearty dishes for us in the plant-based world. So I made that this weekend today, because I thought, it's cold, I need some warming soup. And it's one that I make a lot because it's, like you said, it's so easy.
Yeah, very easy and very simple to double it. And it used common ingredients. I mean, like, the only thing I didn't have today was I was out of fresh cilantro, but Tom was out running errands. And so I said, hey, could you just stop and pick up some cilantro? That was the only thing that I didn't have for these 3 recipes, because you use common pantry items. And somebody had asked me that somebody sent me an email and said, well, are her recipes use common ingredients? Because I live in a small town and a lot of things I can't get. Yes, common, regular, whole food, plant-based ingredients. Then the other thing I tried, Tom, do you want to hold this up as well? So this is really fun. These are called beanie bleenies. And you see here how cute they are. This was another recipe that I decided to double. And so this is using chickpea flour. And I had that, I buy it and I keep it in my freezer. And then some hummus that I already had made. And you just make them kind of like they're little savory pancakes. I make some that we serve with Indian food where I put corn or peas in them. But yours with the dried onions, I was like, I have to make these today. And because I have never done that.
This could be a whole movie snack meal. This,
Well, maybe we should watch a movie when we get done working tonight.
It's like the entire meal is all these little hors d'oeuvres and then the soup.
Yeah, I probably ate 6 of them
Uh-huh.
while I was making them.
That way I'm doing all the sampling now.
Yeah, they're just so fun and delicious. And children love anything that's like smaller.
That you can pick up, right? Yeah. And I really loved when I was, because I have a zucchini fritter recipe in the book too, and I make those a lot with, this time of year when zucchini is like huge and abundant. But then I was like, I just want to make some little snackable things, because sometimes you want something for dipping and it's a really nice, quick thing to make. And chickpea flour is so inexpensive. And adding the dehydrated onion, it then absorbs the water as it cooks. So you don't have to, use.
They have a fun texture.
They do. So they were, with chickpea flour, when you first mix it up, you don't want to taste the raw batter, because chickpea flour, when you make a batter with it, it tastes terrible. So don't taste the batter, first of all, because you won't like it and you'll think this isn't going to taste good. But it totally changes when you cook it. It completely changes the flavor. And so, you could do a wonderful little appetizer tray with those, and lots of different things you could dip those in. So, and that was the beanie bleenies. And that is on page 108.
Now, why did you pick Beanie Bleenies? Do you think that was a fun name? What?
Oh, well, because,
you had the stuff?
I had the stuff, and, I make the ones with peas and carrots in them with chickpea flour. But I was like, dehydrated onion, I have to try that.
Yeah.
Because it's so different and so delicious. It was really fun.
Stephanie has a question for us that is with regard to this new book.
Yes.
Sometimes, for instance, like Tami has done some recipes that have wound up in Glenn Mercer's books. And when she publishes her cookbook, likely some of those recipes will be included in her published book. Is this book all new recipes, or are there some that you pulled in from earlier works?
No, these are all, there's some that are on my blog currently, because they were recipes that I published after my last cookbook. But these are all new recipes since my last cookbook.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question, because when Tami gets her book actually done, many of our subscribers on the blog have said, can you just please take all the recipes off the blog, because we haven't never done it, and put them in a book. Yeah. So the first book might be just a nice compact hard copy version of everything that's already there. She's always inventing new stuff, but there's a backlog of work to be done here at Nutmeg Notebook.
Yeah, because it's nice to have that printed version versus rifling through a website or printing them off yourself. Having that hard copy is, there's nothing like it, right? We can be as digital as we want in this world, but having a printed book feels good.
It does, because when I'm looking for recipes or what to make, I want to sit down in a comfy chair, and I want to go through the book. And the pictures are beautiful too, you guys. The
meal
book
planning begins in the recliner.
It does. And the pictures are just beautiful. And the thing about it is, the food that you make will turn out looking just like the pictures, because you're just so good at making sure the recipes are foolproof. And you don't have to be an excellent cook. in order to cook these recipes either. That's what I find. I find that they're, you know, they are not complicated. You know, even if you're new to cooking in the kitchen, you can do these because everything is step by step how to do it. Lots of hints and tips, and I'm just so excited. There's so many things that that I want to try. So, and you know, it's fun because it gives you, it just gets you excited about eating plant-based again. You know, when you've got a few new things to try and you know, just throw something different into the week.
Yeah, because we all have our routines and like just our regular rotations of recipes we make and dishes we make. And then something inspires us, a new idea or just a technique, or like you say, like using the onion flakes or something like that, which perks up your routine. And it's exciting, right?
It is.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's simple. It doesn't have to be major either. It's just something simple. Look, he's going back for more. You're on screen.
No, that's good. We caught you, but it's good.
That's good. It's good. It is really delicious.
I went off screen on purpose so I didn't
So you could eat.
so I could get another chip, but I didn't see. I was just a little bit.
Well, I have to admit that I was licking the spatula when I cleaned out the blender. I was like, okay, well, this is cook's privilege, you know.
I'm busted now, so I might as well stay here.
You might as
But,
well.
do you have anything else we want to cover with Dreena? We're at an hour here, so
Okay,
we
I
should
think
let her get on with her life.
Yeah. Well, she's got to feed her family now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I just have to tell you what a pleasure it was to have you here today. This is just like such an honor for me. Because, you know, like I said, our daughter and I have been cooking out of these. Oh, and I have to tell you this too. I got to get them in. My mom, who is not plant-based, she has these 2 cookbooks. And there are so many things that she makes for her and my dad routinely out of these books. And she's not even plant-based, you know, but she's had them at our house, or when I go to her house, I do the cooking. And so they have things that they just absolutely love of yours, and they don't eat plant-based, but they do when they have these meals.
That's beautiful. That's inspiring. That to me is kind of, you know, the diet can be for everyone in some way. And usually when people start eating plant-based, they want to eat more and more of it because they realize they're feeling good after they eat, you know, like they don't have, you know, discomfort after eating, and they just feel more vibrant. So it tends to grow very organically in its own way when we eat this way. So that's lovely to hear. Thank you. And you have been such a supporter of mine, and I really appreciate it. But I'm, you know, also very appreciative of all the work that you're doing and the messages that you're bringing out to everybody. And you've completely mastered batch cooking to share with people. So you have your own, like, you know, pearls of wisdom that you're sharing. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, we all have our place in the plant-based community, and you know, we've all figured out how to make it work.
Yeah.
You know, how do we make this lifestyle work, because it's so important to us to do it. So, well, thank you so much, Dreena, and I'll keep following you on Instagram, and I'll be posting pictures. And Dreena, I just want to let everyone know that I do have permission from Dreena and the publisher that I can make some videos for, I think there's 9 recipes that I'm allowed to make videos or blog posts about, and actually share the recipes at that time. So stay tuned, because I'll be sharing with you some of these wonderful foods. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful dinner with your family.
Thank you. And thank you, Tom. Enjoy the rest of that dip when you're off camera.
Okay, will do. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and finish up with some other content here.
Okay. Yeah.
So enjoy
much.
the rest of your evening, and thank you so much for being with us. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That was so much fun. Okay. Wow, the time just went by so fast. So she's just sweet and kind and just adorable. So that was really a great time. I hope you guys all enjoyed it too. And I can tell you that, you know, there's a lot of recipes in there that if you are SOS free, you wouldn't have to alter at all. Like, the salt, I just left the salt out and used some of Well Your World Dylan's Stardust in the soup. The soup did call for coconut milk. I had a can of light coconut milk that I used. And then it also called for, since I doubled it, it would have been 2 cans, but I just used some of the Joy almond milk instead of a second can of the coconut milk, because that's what I had on hand. And then she gives lots of options if you need to make something gluten-free, which for me, I do. But I use a lot of the recipes that aren't gluten-free to make things for the family and for the grandchildren. Like all her muffin recipes and everything are just super delicious and healthy. And so, we feel good about making those and giving those to the kids. So anyway, I wanted to, so I hope you'll buy the book and enjoy it because we love her recipes. And then I wanted to tell you guys next week, we will be having Caroline from the Wellbeing Company, Wellbeing, the bars and the bean-based bars and bites that we really like. She is going to be on with us, but we are not going to be talking about well-being. She is actually a marriage and family therapist, and she is going to share some cognitive behavior tips that she teaches people that she works with to help them adopt and be able to sustain a whole food plant-based lifestyle. And so I'm just so excited to hear what she has to say, because when we first start our new lifestyle, we're super excited, we're very motivated, but motivation comes and goes. It doesn't stay up at that high level all the time. We have peaks and valleys with it. And so you've got to have some strategies on what to do when your motivation is dipping. And so I'm real excited to hear what Caroline has to say. Plus, I just love her Southern accent, and I feel like I could listen to her talk all day. And she has just such a fun personality. So we're real excited about that. Tom was mentioning Glenn Mercer, and we had Glenn and his wife on some months ago to share their plant-based story. And Glenn is an author, and he authored a couple of books with Chef AJ, and darn, I don't have his book right here in my hands, but he has a new book coming out. Food is Climate is going to be coming out, and I have some recipes that will be in it. There will be a recipe section in it, and it's all about climate change and the effect that's having on our food supply and everything else that's going on in the world. And Dylan from Well Your World will have recipes in it, and Chef AJ and Brittany from the Giroudi family, and Brian and Jessica Crocs from Crocs in the Kitchen. And Glenn was a co-author of this book. And then where's the other one? Do you see it?
Own Your Health, are you talking about?
Yeah, there it is. It is right there.
It's
My
this
knee
blue
was
one.
covering
I
it.
spotted it right straight away.
Yeah, and then he's also the author with Chef AJ of Own Your Health. And I have recipes in this book as well. And so the Food is Climate book is right now available on Amazon. The Kindle version is available, and you can pre-order the paperback, and it will hopefully be shipping about August 19th. So that is coming up pretty soon. So I'm excited. I have gotten a preview and seen the recipes that everyone has submitted. And I think you guys are going to be really, really pleased with the recipes. And then Tom, do you want to talk about Health Science Magazine?
So yeah, the National Health Association puts out the Health Science Magazine. This is the summer issue that we received about a week ago. There are, these are put out quarterly, spring, summer, winter, and fall. No.
You got stumped.
That's 4 seasons. Anyway.
Good job, honey.
And you get this when you are an NHA member, which costs in the US $35, and it's I put the link down in the show notes for this. In Canada and other countries, it's also available, but it's a few more dollars for the shipping. And when you sign up, you get all 4 issues during the year. No ads, chock full of all kinds of plant-based information, profiles of people that have been successful managing a plant-based lifestyle, recipes, and so forth. So if you use Nutmeg Notebook in the comments when you sign up on the is it healthscience.org/join, it's in the show notes, you will get this hard copy of the just released summer issue rather than having to wait until you get to the next, to the fall issue.
And you also get access to all of the back issues. There's like years and years and years of back issues that you get to access online, as well as a lot of books. And so in the fall issue last year, I did the recipe spread for that. I think I had 6 or 7 recipes in that issue. And so if you weren't a member at the time, but you sign up now, you will get
electronic access to past issues. So it's a very high value for the relatively low fee to be a member.
It is. So. It is. And we have friends in this one. So Faith Scott from Get to the Root.
Yeah, did the recipes.
Did the recipes for this issue. And our friend Lori Armitage gave her testimonial in this one. And there's a wonderful interview with Dr. Furman that Mark
did. That's a large article. They cover a lot of ground in that. So that's a very good article.
Really, really informative. Yeah. And so I think you guys would really enjoy having this issue. Normally, if you ordered it, if you signed up now, you wouldn't get the hard copy of this, but Mark ordered extra copies and did that special offer so that our subscribers could get a hard copy of it. So we're super excited about that. And let's see, what else do we have? Well, what else do we have coming up? Anything else? Did I cover it all? I'm hoping I did.
Things you're working on that you don't have hard scheduled yet. So
I do. So I can't. Yeah, we have some more fun and interesting people that we will be having on in the future, but we don't have hard dates for those yet. And so
we have to hold our tongue for now.
We have to hold our tongue. Okay.
All right.
And you're ready to have a movie and
my dinner's ready. What are you having?
Well, I'll have some more of this. This is super delicious.
Okay.
Just really fun and flavorful.
So we're going to be on next week, as you described. So we will see you there. Sunday morning walk at between 7 and 7:30 on this coming Sunday on Facebook. And those of you that are subscribed to nutmegnotebook.com got a prompter for today's show, as well as some other information. Tammy's been having me include a reprise, a recipe reminder of things from the past that are kind of seasonally timely right now. So if you're not signed up on the blog, nutmegnotebook.com, you're missing out on that information. Please join us there. About half of everyone on YouTube, the way the numbers work, about half of you on YouTube are signed up on the blog.
Yeah, give us a thumbs up too, you guys. Give us some love.
Yeah, on this video.
How are you doing on the marinara video? Is it done? Almost done?
It's pretty close. I've got everything into the edit machine and I'm arranging things. It could be out next week.
Okay. I have to do the blog post and write up the recipe yet, but
I've got about a day's worth of work.
Okay. So if you have any fresh tomatoes left,
we have a solution coming soon for you. I see a whole bin of fresh tomatoes right over there.
I know. I was looking at that and thinking,
that's about 4 pounds. That's a batch of marinara.
It's about a batch of marinara. Yeah.
Okay.
So I got more work to do, but I think I'm done cooking for tonight.
Okay.
All right. I'm Tami.
And I'm Tom.
Oh, before we do that, did you thank the moderators?
I started to, but then we were talking about Jesse, Randy, Tiffany. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking care of so many questions in the chat feed. And we will look to see you next week.
Yeah.
All right. I gotta switch over to a different screen here to end this stream. So,
you do?
Yeah.
You have to switch something?
Yeah. So
okay.
So goodbye.
Are we gonna do? Oh, okay. Bye, you guys. We'll see you next week. Thanks so much.